A single trembling hand rested on the front door handle, not turning it, but just touching the cold wood. It was the door to her life, her safe place, but now it was shut against her. She had saved for years, every late shift, every skipped meal, all for this house. But when she looked up at the window, a stranger's face was looking back at her. A heavy silence fell, broken only by a fast, pounding heartbeat. In just a few hours, the simple comfort she knew would be violently taken away. Have you ever felt that sudden, sinking fear when everything you worked for is threatened? Tell us in the comments. Before we begin, hit subscribe. It's appreciated. Her name was Maria. She was a single mom, the kind of person who always looked tired but never stopped moving. Every day for Maria was a careful dance. Get up before the sun, make sure her little boy, Leo, was ready for school, and then head to her 2 jobs. She was a cleaner in the morning and worked at a diner in the evenings. The house, her little yellow house with the slightly chipped paint, was more than just a place to live. It was the proof that she had won. It was the only thing she truly owned, bought after years of scraping together every penny. The house meant safety. It meant she could finally stop looking over her shoulder. She loved the silence of her street, the way the old oak tree in the front yard dropped shade right onto the porch swing. She often dreamed of painting that porch swing a bright blue, a small, hopeful dream she held close. But lately, a shadow had crept in. The bills had piled up. A terrible injury at the diner meant lost work, and just a few weeks of missed payments had turned her world upside down. She had been fighting the bank, fighting the legal papers, trying to explain her situation. She felt invisible, like a voice talking into a strong wind. This morning, as she walked back from the bus stop, the quiet of her street felt different. It felt heavy. She didn't know it yet, but the biggest fight of her life was about to happen, not with a bank, but with people who didn't care about dreams or hard work. If you were in their place, what would you have done? Tell us in the comments. The day it happened, Maria felt a sharp, cold shock in her chest. She had gone to a friend's house for a few days to clear her head, thinking the legal battle would take time. But when she drove up her street, a strange truck was parked in her driveway. The front door, her door, was wide open, and the locks had been changed. A group of people she had never seen before were inside. They were loud and careless. When she timidly stepped onto her porch and asked them who they were, they didn't even stop to look at her. They just laughed. One man, big and with a cold stare, finally blocked the doorway. He held up a badly copied piece of paper. He told Maria that the house was now his. He claimed that because the house had been empty for a few weeks, he had a right to it. It was a sick lie, a cruel trick called squatting, using a bad law to steal what wasn't theirs. Maria's voice was shaking as she begged them. She told them about Leo, about her work, about the years she had spent making that house a home. They just looked through her like she was nothing but thin air. The police came, but they only made things worse. They looked at the fake documents and then at Maria, seeing only a tired woman with tears in her eyes. They told her it was a civil matter and that she needed to get a lawyer. They said they couldn't force the squatters out today. This injustice was a deep, silent wound. Every smile she'd practiced, every effort to be a good working person, suddenly felt small and meaningless. The squatters watched her drive away, laughing, and Maria drove with a pain that was more than sadness. It was the quiet ache of being unseen and forgotten by the whole world. She went to a small park and sat on a bench, holding her head in her hands. That night felt like the darkest she had ever known. She had fought every day of her adult life to build a wall of safety, and in a single moment, it had been knocked down by people who simply didn't care. She felt the heavy truth. When you have nothing, the system often treats you like nothing too. But in that quiet moment of heartbreak, something inside her began to change. She stopped crying and started listening to a strength she didn't know she had, a strength that was quietly waking up. Have you ever carried pain in silence, hoping one day someone would truly see you? Tell us in the comments. Maria woke up the next morning feeling empty but determined. She knew she couldn't fight alone. She decided to post her story online, not asking for money, but just sharing the terrible injustice. She wrote about the house, the fake papers, and the laughter of the strangers who were now sleeping in her bed. She felt small and scared pressing post. But then the messages started. Not a few, but a flood. People felt her pain. They were angry for her. One message stood out. It was simple. signed by a man named Ray. He didn't offer a lawyer or money. He said he was with a local motorcycle club. He wrote, "We see you. We hear you. Be home by noon." Maria was confused and afraid, but she had nowhere else to go. She drove back to her street, pulling up slowly just as the clock turned 12. The sight that met her eyes was impossible. The street was no longer quiet. It was filled with the low, deep roar of hundreds of motorcycle engines. 200, 300. Bikers on massive, loud machines had lined the street, blocking any way in or out. They weren't fighting. They were just standing there, silent, dressed in leather, their faces serious. It was a solid, living wall of people who were done with injustice. The squatters saw the crowd through the window. Their laughter died in their throats. This wasn't the police. This was a statement. The big man who had laughed at Maria yesterday came running out, yelling, but he stopped dead when he saw the silent, unmoving line of riders. One of the bikers, a woman with kind eyes and strong arms, stepped forward. She didn't say a word. She just pointed toward the street, then pointed to the squatter's truck. The message was clear. The time for talking was over. The bikers didn't threaten them. They simply showed them the raw power of people who care. What would you have done if this truth was suddenly staring back at you? Tell us in the comments. The squatters didn't need to be told twice. Their faces were white with fear. Within 10 minutes, they packed their bags in a rush, grabbed the fake papers, and sped away in their truck, leaving Maria's house silent again. The 300 bikers didn't cheer or celebrate. They simply got back on their bikes. Ray, the man who had messaged her, just handed Maria a small box of new, strong locks and gave her a simple nod. He told her they would stay nearby until the court gave her the final papers. He told her, "You are not alone." Maria stood there, tears finally falling, but these were different tears. They were tears of relief and deep, powerful gratitude. The fear turned into purpose. The silence turned into a voice. She realized that every small act of kindness, every moment of courage, was a spark against the dark. That day, Maria carried more than just her house keys. She carried a deep understanding of what true community meant. The world hadn't changed overnight, but something inside her had. She had learned that justice sometimes doesn't wear a uniform. It wears leather and a kind heart. The bikers left after a few hours, their engines fading into the distance. Maria walked into her home, fixed the damage the squatters had done, and painted that porch swing the bright blue she had always wanted. Every time she looked at it, she remembered the sound of those engines and the silent, powerful stand that 300 strangers took for her. She realized that even when you feel most invisible, there is always someone ready to see you, ready to help you, ready to fight for what is right. Maybe that's how real change begins, not in noise, but in hearts that refuse to stop feeling. What part of this story stayed with you the most? Tell us in the comments. Show some love with a like and subscribe to stay inspired.